Good morning and happy Monday. This is the Pitch Joint Chronicles. I am Uncle Taz. I am here with Donald and Rob. And the only thing that's not here is the Yankees offense. That had to be one of the most pathetic outputs that we've seen against Boston, regardless of our lineup configuration. A Little League could have played better than the freaking Yankees did this weekend. Guys, what is the biggest problem, aside from the obvious, without Judge being in this lineup to be a threat? Who's going to? There's nobody to save this freaking club. This is absolutely pathetic.
I have to say Rizzo's slump has come at the worst possible time. Is he over his last 19, I believe? He's in an all-world slump. And that's a big part of it, man, because without Judge, we're asking him to step up. But he's been so good to this point. It's easy to kind of overlook this massive slump that he's on, but it's come at the worst time. Now, he will come around. Now, don't get me wrong. He will 100% come around. It's just the timing of that slump has hurt big time. Stanton weirdly started off hot. His first couple of games has been kind of sat a little bit, come back, sat a little bit, come back, and now he's stone cold. So, I think that they shouldn't have rested him those couple of days that they did when he came back. You know what I mean? I know they're trying to work it, but he's a DH. I mean, how hard can it be? So, his quality of at bats were really good when he first came back, but now it's tailed off. So, I mean, without those two guys, then you're asking for Willie Calhoun and these dudes to step up. But a big problem, and we're going to get into it, is Anthony Volpe. I think this is a bigger problem now. His numbers, his swing, there's a massive hitch in his swing. There's a massive issue with his swing, a massive hole in his swing, which is something that I'm surprised that our hitting coach isn't kind of noticing, considering everybody can see it. So I'm not quite sure what Dylan Lawson actually does. I would love to know if anybody in the chat, Damien, Fortrain, Dina, and if any of you guys know what Dylan Lawson actually does, I would love to know.
Yeah, it's the obvious when it comes to this offense. We know why they're struggling. We are the worst offense in baseball without Aaron Judge. And with him, we're scoring at two more runs per game. So right there's a clear answer. But big guys you need to step up aren't stepping up. Just mention the numbers. Rizzo hasn't gotten a hit since Judge got hurt. That's big. Stanton hasn't done anything. Unless Donaldson's hitting a home run, he's not doing anything. All of his hits have been home runs since he's come back. LeMahieu's cold. Torres cold. Volpe's been cold all season. You're not winning games like that. I don't care how good McKinney's been since he's got here, and he's been the only one that's actually hitting consistently. Bowers has been fine. Calhoun's been fine, but these are not guys you're relying on to win your ball games. And last night, another example of a chance to win a game, couldn't do it. The first game I can kind of excuse, right? Because Volpe came inches away from a walk-off, and you're like, that could have been the turnaround for him. But then last night, they have just so many, the Torres not even going for that ball that was thrown in from left field, like he just stood there. That ended up costing us a run. And then a chance to tie the game in extra innings, and Trevino has what possibly the worst at-bat I've ever seen. So everything's going wrong, and it's convenient right as our best player goes down. It's like we can't function without him. So, again, anyone who says this team does not need Aaron Judge, you are seeing exactly why they do, because had they let him walk this offseason, this would be the norm every single night. There'd be the occasional night where they put up 5, 6, 7 runs, but this would be the team that they are, which is 500 at best, and it's not a good look. They're losing games as soon as he goes down, and we're in a better position now than we were the first time he got hurt, because we actually have some guys that can hit. We have Stanton and Donaldson back. We have a more competent-looking lineup even without him, and hopefully when Bader comes back, it'll look even better. But they're still not hitting. I don't get it. Is one player means so much to this team, and they don't know how to function without him, and that's a big problem with how this team was constructed.
Yeah, before I put out, I'm going to read this tweet of some numbers that River Avenue Blues tweeted out. Before that, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video out. Let's get some people into the discussion. And as always, we always appreciate the support and the friendships from everybody. But listen to this, all right? This is River Avenue Blues. During the homestand, Rizzo 0 for 19. Torres 4 for 20 with 2 home runs. DJ LeMahieu 3 for 15. Stanton 1 for 14. Donaldson 2 for 18 with 2 home runs. That is not going to help the club survive while Judge is out. That's been the problem. This team is so I don't know. It's just lifeless. It's dead. There's no desire to play baseball. You could see that if they were really just putting the effort in and just not being able to get the job done. But they're not even showing up to do their job. They're going up there flailing and everything. Volpe, maybe it's time to kind of switch him and Peraza. Let Volpe go and hit reset for a little while. Bring up a hotter at bat and see if you could light a fuse under somebody. Trevino, why are we not using the ghost Ford vet who's actually putting some good numbers down there, but we have to stick with Trevino and Higgy because Higgy went to college with Cole. So, his job is protected. And he's not even catching Cole on a regular basis like he was when Sanchez was here. So it's not like that's his catcher. And when Higgy catches, Cole doesn't have the best numbers this year. So they really need to shake something up, and they need to do it now. They cannot wait and try to ride this out like we were hoping they were going to be able to do, because this offense can't make contact with anything. You cannot rely on Bowers and Calhoun. You cannot rely on these replacements to carry the club. And it almost seems like that's what they're expecting. They're expecting the second string to carry the first string. That is not a championship mentality.
Yeah, let's get into Anthony Volpe, right? Interested in the people's thoughts in the chat. First of all, let's do a roll call. We got to do a roll call. We got to say hello to everybody. Li Yankee King, salute. Maza, salute. FJ, salute. And Damien, salute, brother. Medina, salute, brother. All these guys, thank you so much. Jonathan was in the chat earlier. Shout out to all you guys and anybody who's watching. As Tat says, hit that like button. Hit that likey button for us, please. But let's get into Anthony Volpe. So it's quite stark. They're struggling now. It's concerning. Anthony Volpe has the worst OBP and the third worst batting average in the majors. That says it all. Yeah. Says it all. The worst on base percentage in the majors. This is now concerning. His 180 batting average has him amongst the worst in baseball. He can occasionally hit a home run when a fastball's down the middle, but other than that, there's a massive hole in his swing. He can't deal with outside pitches. That's a fact. He can't deal with the sweepers / sliders. Can't deal with that. He can't deal with curveballs, and he's struggling with cutters. So he basically anything with a little bit of movement, he's struggling with. Let's be honest, okay? Unless a pitch is down the middle in his wheelhouse, then he's struggling to get around on it. And that says to me that he's got a massive hole in his swing. It seems a little bit too long, and it seems a little bit too uppercut. In my opinion, I think his swing is a little bit too uppercut for my liking. I know that the Yankees love that, but I don't love that because I don't think it actually helps the team. Where he is, what she should be asked to do is to get on base and make contact. Get on base so you can use his speed. His speed is elite, right? That's he's so dangerous at that. But if you're just trying to make him into an uppercut swing dude, then you're going to get a whole lot of this. His strikeouts are through the roof. His on base is way down. and he doesn't hit enough home runs to even justify the way that he's being asked to hit. Now, I don't know whether this is a Yankee organizational thing. I think it probably is, but I would like to see him with a slightly more level swing. But he does have a little hole in that swing, and I think that's something that maybe he needs time to fix. And it depends if how they handle this, because you don't want to make it look like he's to blame, because he isn't to blame. He's a rookie. He's going through his struggles, but these are slightly now pronounced struggles, and he's not actually getting better. For me, his swing is getting worse, and that is something that maybe time in AAA for a couple of weeks just to get that worked on and get his confidence back maybe might help him. You've got a ready-made replacement in Peraza. He's freaking awesome, and he's doing crazy stuff in AAA. And it just goes to the point where the Yankees never gave Peraza a chance. There's no chance that Peraza would have these bad numbers. Not a chance. It would have taken Peraza to be blindfolded for him to even struggle this much. Let's be honest. Like, Peraza would not struggle like this. He didn't struggle last year. So I just says that I think the Yankees have different expectations for different people, and I don't think that was fair on Peraza. But as for Volpe, good player, but I think there's a swing issue there that needs to be fixed, and I think it needs maybe fixed in AAA, or a couple of days not playing and a couple of days just in the batting cage, just to figure it out. But I think they do need to call up Peraza. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I'll let you go first, Rob.
I don't think you should send him down, although I wouldn't be opposed to it right now if they needed to go that direction. One thing that we need to remember about him is he didn't necessarily dominate anything. He didn't look like he was too good for AAA because he wasn't there very long. He didn't even look like he was too good for AA. But at the same time, he was so good in the spring, I was begging for him to be on the main roster. So I'm not going to turn back on what I said. I asked for this, so I'm willing to be patient. But there is definitely something with that swing, because if you can't hit anything other than a fastball, then yeah, there's something wrong. And I've been noticing that for a very long time now. It's just everything. Every time there's a slider, he's flailing, he's missing, and he's missing badly. So yeah, there's definitely something there, and it needs to be worked on. Maybe you sit him, like you said, for a couple of days, or just put him in the cage as much as possible. Have him work with as many people as you can. Or maybe this is an organizational thing, because look at the players that leave and just start hitting again. Look at Gary Sanchez; he's killing it with San Diego right now. Look at Aaron Hicks; he remembered how to hit all of a sudden. He can't get him out. So maybe this is a thing with the Yankees where they just bring in guys that. Well, this is a thing where they just want to bring in guys that are going to have a certain swing, and Volpe has that swing that they like. But I think if you call it Peraza right now, it might light a fire under Volpe, because it's like, this guy could replace me at any given moment. And we need as much contact as we can get right now in this lineup, and Peraza would provide that. So it could be a good thing if we keep Volpe up, but also get Peraza up here and have them hitting at the same time in the same lineup. Maybe it sparks something. A little friendly competition never hurt anybody. Maybe that's what we could be looking for. And I don't know. Maybe you do send him down. The Blue Jays sent Manoah to freaking rookie ball. So maybe you can do it, if you have to, just for like a week or so. But it's not like he's hitting very well that you're going to lose a bat in the lineup. But you have to get Peraza up here. You have to find a way to get him up here. I don't know why he's not. And this is a question we've been asking for a long time. But they have to, and he's not to blame. And that's what the Yankees are afraid of, because if you send him down, they're like, oh, how can you blame him? And had everybody else that we rely on been hitting, I think Volpe would be a lot more comfortable. It feels like he has to come up because so many people are struggling. Maybe he's just trying too hard. And that's the worst thing. That's the worst thing for a kid to have to try and do, because you're never going to get out of a slump that way. So a lot of it has to do with him, of course, but a lot of this also has to do with the fact that the guys around him are not hitting. He was better when we had Judge and Bader in the lineup. No surprise, because the lineup was more functional, and then Volpe was able to come through here and there. But right now, nobody's hitting at a consistent rate, and it's easy to pinpoint one person. But I don't think the Yankees want to do that, because if you send him down, it's like, oh, how can you do that to him after you got him up here? So they have to try to fix this on the team somehow. And I think getting Peraza up here could actually be a benefit to Volpe, because if you get another good hitter, someone he's familiar with, maybe they can work off each other. I'm thinking of anything that's possible right now, because we need Volpe, but we also need 5 other guys to step up right now.
I would also say that I don't actually think he's in the slump, though, because he's never actually been hot. So I think there's actually more of a hole in his swing that actually does work. It just depends on where he can get the best coaching. I don't think he can get it at the major league level. Aaron Boone is not – he's not a coach, right? That's not his forte, right? Dylan Lawson, he's completely useless. So maybe you do need to send him to the minor leagues just to get the kinks worked out. That's what I'm just wondering. Unless there's someone at the major league level that can help fix that swing, I don't know who it is. Maybe Aaron Judge could do it, like, while he's rehabbing. I just don't know who he's going to do, but you need somebody that can look at his swing, because there's something wrong with it.
No, and I think it goes to, Dylan Larson. When you make a comment that you don't pay attention to the numbers, that should have been a flag right there that we need to make a change. That he's not, especially for a team that's so analytically driven. How do you have your hitting coach make a comment like that? And you're seeing the results of his lackadaisical approach to being a hitting coach. This is the result of it. It goes down to accountability. The accountability has to go down from the owner all the way down. And it should not stop at the manager. The players have to be held accountable as well. You have to be able to do your job. If you can't, let's find somebody who can. Maybe it is time to, let and stress to Volpe that being sent down is not, it may go as a demotion, in the headlines. Don't look at the headlines. This is because we're going to need, we have so much faith in you. Rather than just move on, we're gonna get you right again. And bring up Peraza and see what he can do. And you're going to have to deal with the narrative of the Yankees. The press is going to spin it that the Yankees made the wrong decision. They should have had Peraza up here the whole time if Peraza is able to do well. And I think that's that narrative that the Yankees don't want to have. We talked about this last week. I think Rob pointed it out. They don't want to be able to – they don't want to have the media and the fans saying you called up the wrong guy. Volpe wasn't ready. But Volpe, remember, everybody, he was the one that when they gave him the opening day nod, we were ecstatic. There was not one person that said, oh, this is a mistake. Not one. So,
Man, it wasn't a mistake. It's still not a mistake.
It's still not a mistake.
Yeah.
Because he has shown productivity when he's on base. But right now, he's not even getting on base to utilize his strength. So it really has to – something has to change. And it's not a punishment because you cannot take it personal. It's a 26-man roster. All 26 have to be accountable, along with the coaches, the manager, the GM, everybody else in the front office, and the owner. And we talked about, Maz and I talked about it on the Pitch Up Express last night. Accountability is how you start to create success. That's the key to it. You have to be able to, if you are not doing your job, you don't get to work the next day. We do, unfortunately, with all the injuries, our plan B is still a year away, with some of the guys in development. Do we start thinking about trying to poke around the trade market and see if we can get somebody in here before the ship completely goes underwater?
Who is that, though? Who's going to help this team right now? Because the only name that really, there's Jock Peterson, but the Giants aren't selling yet. It's June. Teams don't know where they are. The Cubs aren't going to trade Bellinger right now. I don't even know if he's healthy yet. So there's really nobody out there on the market that's going to help you. There was nobody really outside of like the three main guys in free agency that would have really moved the needle for this offense. It was Benintendi, who hasn't actually been very good, Brian Reynolds, who wasn't a realistic possibility because the Pirates wanted too much for him, and Conforto, who signed for $18 million a year, or Yoshida.
Don't forget Yoshida.
There's Yoshida as well. So that's one move that I will say was a mistake the Yankees did not go ahead and do. But again, right now, who's available? You know, they're going to rely on Bader coming back hopefully tomorrow, and they're going to be like, well, we got him back, and there's been some good news about Judge, and maybe he won't be out as long. Who knows? But it doesn't matter if we get Bader back because this team still doesn't know how to score without Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing. Look at the record, look at the stats without him, and look at the stats with him. We are – and it's amazing that just in a lineup that features – Anthony Rizzo, Giancarlo Stanton, Gleyber Torres, DJ LeMahieu, Harrison Bader when he's healthy, Anthony Volpe, a guy like Jake Bauers playing very well. We still can't find a way to manufacture runs without one guy. That tells you how good Aaron Judge is. And conveniently, all of them are slumping at the same time against mediocre Boston pitching. These Red Sox pitchers all came in with high ERAs, and you can't scrape across like an extra 2 runs. Our pitching has been phenomenal this season, and they deserve all the credit in the world that if they do have a bad game, you kind of just say, well, it's going to happen eventually. They've been so freaking good. Domingo Germán, and we can't even really talk about how good they've been because the offense didn't score. Germán was phenomenal. Schmidt has been great since the calendar turned to May. He's actually becoming a reliable pitcher. The bullpen is the best in baseball despite the injuries. And it doesn't matter. None of it matters because unless we are giving up 0 runs, we're not going to win ball games right now. Like we have to give up 0 to 1 run a game in order to win. That's how bad this offense is without 99 in it.
Yeah,
and glaring issue.
You know, our pitching did not get lit up where the offense, wasn't strong enough to keep pace. Like you said, all they had to do was scrap across a run or two. These were very tight games that we lost. So it really comes down to not having that solid at bat to make contact. That's what's killing us. It's not about launching 50 home runs in a game. We don't need that. All you need to do is keep the line moving in the lineup. Just keep it going. Just gap hits, make contact. You never know what can happen on when you make it. You don't know who's gonna. Especially I think the Red Sox have one of the highest numbers in errors, and you couldn't even get them to make a mistake. I mean, come on, that's terrible.
But it goes down to a lot of things. The reason isn't just that we're all slumping. It's about roster construction. Brian Cashman has not been able to put any team around Aaron Judge. So it's frightening how bad this team is without Aaron Judge. Frightening. And that even is if Rizzo and Stanton even play to the back of their baseball cards. It's still pretty bad because there's still such a lack of depth. There's still such a huge hole in left field. And there's such a disparity between contact and it's just there is issues, and it shows up when Aaron Judge is hurt. And Aaron Judge bailed this Yankee team out last year, and that's why I was so frustrated that we did nothing in the offseason, that we just rested on our laurels like it was okay that we got swept. But like anyone who had half a brain who watches baseball knew that this team had fundamental flaws, and it had to be addressed in the offseason. Aaron Judge played 157 games, and he had the greatest season of all time, arguably. And obviously we did well to get through, but we still struggled through August and September. And so when we did nothing in the offseason, you're leaving yourself open to a possibility that Aaron Judge might miss time. Shit happens. Freak injuries happen. It happened here. And then, And now you're seeing that we have the same winning percentage as the Chicago White Sox without Aaron Judge. And that, for me, that just goes right to the general manager. I can't even blame Aaron Boone on this one. This just goes squarely on the general manager, who's not been able to put a functioning offense around Aaron Judge. If he had a functioning offense, we would be fine. But we're not. And that would be even with Rizzo and Stanton. But the fact that they're in a terrible slump, now we can't score a single run. So a lot of it just comes down to there, and it's a convenient excuse. So if the Yankees, crash and burn, maybe they get the last wild card spot, crash and burn in the playoffs, then they'll be like, hey, but if we had Aaron Judge, then it would all be different. But then you're not really looking at the issues and the reason why we're struggling, and how much better we would be if we had a functioning offense around Aaron Judge, because Aaron Judge has to carry this team. It would be nice if we could get some guys that would actually support him. Now, obviously, there's certain things that we can't account for. None of us would have accounted for DJ LeMahieu forgetting how to hit. Like, one of the best hitters in baseball, and he's forgotten how to hit. And it doesn't look like he's capable right now. No one would have figured that would have happened. And Rizzo and Stanton have been fine, but they're getting hurt all the time. And well, Stanton certainly is, so I can sort of give them a break for that, but the rest I can't really give them a break for. They're the reason why we don't have a left fielder. So again, I think a lot of it goes down to the general manager. The second thing, and I want to pick up on FJ's point here, the current hitting staff is as bad as Marcus Thames.
Yep.
I really want to say this because when we actually made that decision to cut ties with Marcus Thames, I disagreed with it, right? And not because I thought Marcus Thames was a good hitting coach. He wasn't, right? But the thing is, it had nothing to do with Marcus Thames. The struggles that the Yankees had as an organization offensively has absolutely zero to do with Marcus Thames. It's an organizational philosophy. That's what the problem was. They turned Gleyber Torres into strictly an uppercut swing home run hitter, completely like trashing his ability to get on base and hit to all fields. They did the same thing with Giancarlo with your man Sanchez. Gary Sanchez was very much the same player as Gleyber Torres. He was able to hit to all fields. We strictly turned him into a pool hitter, completely trashing his offensive ability. That was an organizational decision. And just sacking Marcus Thames just has nothing to do with that. It's still an analytical philosophy. Oh, let's just hit home runs, right? And now we've got rid of Marcus Thames, and the same problems exist because that was always going to happen. Dylan Lawson just purely looks at his iPad. He doesn't actually have, like, techniques because he was never, like, a proper hitting coach. You need someone who's been there, done that at the major league level that knows how to do it and can translate it, like a Jason Giambi or something like that. You know what I mean? But just a dude that's come from a laptop generation isn't actually going to be able to connect with players, and you're seeing that, and that's a big issue because I think there's a bunch of guys that aren't even hitting close to their actual abilities, and I think a lot of it is an organizational thing.
Well, we have multiple hitting coaches, and what does Wilkerson do behind him? Like, none of these guys are helping, and it's been this way for a very long time. We blamed Kevin Long, we blamed Marcus Thames, we're blaming Dylan Lawson. We're going to blame Wilkerson. Whoever replaces these guys next year, if they move on from them, we're going to blame him too. It all starts and ends with the guy at the top. That's all it is, and that's why we were all asking for a change. I'm not saying I wanted to change because I just despise Brian Cashman so much and I think he's a terrible GM, but 30 years is too long when you haven't won since 2009. And it was just time for a change. We had a good roster. We still have a good roster, but the fact that we can't win without one player, as good as that one player is exactly why we wanted to change. Because this team did have some flaws, but they don't want to call up one of their top prospects who they didn't want to trade. They're still holding him back, even though there's a clear need for a bat right now in this lineup. They don't want to call him up. And you still can have, even without Aaron Judge, you need Rizzo, you need Stanton, you need LeMahieu, you need Torres, you need Bader. You're going to need McKinney to stay hot. You're going to need Bowers to stay hitting. and put Peraza in there, and maybe you'll get something going. And then if you have a consistent 5 or 6 guys that can hit the ball pretty well, it's going to help Volpe out. Whatever offensive production you can get from the catcher, it's going to be a plus. But why can't we get Rortvedt up here? Why? Trevino actually hasn't been that good this year defensively compared to last year. He's a Platinum Glove winner, and he hasn't really been that good. Higashioka is a liability behind the plate at this point. Even though he gets a few big hits here and there, it's still not good enough. And Ben Rortvedt was like, he's the last piece of that Twins trade that you can maybe say gave you anything. I don't care what IKF's done in the utility role. He hasn't hit well. Donaldson is either hitting a home run or he's doing nothing, and he needs to go, and he's needed to be gone. Why not get Rortvedt up here? Get a lefty bat in there, and he was hitting the ball fine when he first got up here, and they sent him right down immediately when Trevino got healthy. But do something. Do something. Try something. Why can't we have Peraza up here? Why are we sticking with the same lineup, knowing that we can't score without Aaron Judge? They're so statistically driven and analytically driven. There's a glaring stat that tells you your record and your runs per game without him in your lineup, and you're ignoring that, and you're just not going to call up a guy like Peraza, who may or may not help you. I'm not saying he's going to be the savior, but at least try something. Try something, because sometimes that one player can be a spark, and then Rizzo will get hitting. And we know once Rizzo starts, he's not going to go cold for a while. We know when Stanton gets into a hot streak, it's one of the best things to watch, because he'll hit 6 home runs in a week. You're like, that's Giancarlo. But we need it to happen now, because right now nobody else is hitting. And it needs to start with those 2 guys, because when Judge goes down, who's the second captain on this team? Basically, it's Rizzo, at least for the offensive side. And if he's struggling, well, it's like we're down 99, and Rizzo can't hit. Who's going to step up? Well, then you got to look at Giancarlo. He's not doing it. Well, who is it after him? Because it ain't Donaldson, it ain't Gleyber Torres, and there's DJ LeMahieu, who's hitting 240 with an OPS under 700. You're like, who is this guy? It's just all bad right now. There's really no end in sight, and it starts and ends with Aaron Judge. So yeah, it's like you try to ask this question, what aside from that issue, what is it? That is the issue. They don't know how to do it without Aaron Judge. And that's why it was so important that he was back, because again, had Arson Judge went to San Francisco, guess where we would be right now? In the same position as Boston, right around 500, maybe even below 500, probably below 500, and staring at a playoff spot like from below, like you're stuck under ice or something. You just can't get out of it. That's basically where we'd be. We stuck in the mud, quicksand, whatever freaking metaphor you want to use. That's where we'd be without Aaron Judge, because we're seeing it right now. Every game he's been out, this offense does not know how to score. We scored 5 runs is the most runs we've scored in a game, and we didn't even win that one. But since he's been hurt, it's been 4, 2, 2, 2, 3. That's not winning you ball games, even with good pitching.
But remember, in the discussions when you're extending Aaron Judge asked specifically for the Yankees to get better players around him. He was like, I want to compete for a World Series. Are you guys going to invest in order to do that? And he was promised yes. And the very first offseason since he's extended, they've done nothing. In fact, they did less than nothing. And they've kind of failed Aaron Judge, and they failed the Yankees, man. They had to bring in a left fielder. They didn't. Do you know how nice it would be to have like even a Yoshida in that team? Like I think it was a game that we actually won, the middle game of the series. And Yoshida worked like a 14, 15 pitch at bat, and he continued to foul pitches off, and go to walk. I was watching that, and I was like, that is an ideal Yankee. That is a prototypical Yankee right there. That is a guy that will fight off pitches, get on base. We don't have guys like that do that anymore. And it really helps. I think we really missed a beat not signing Yoshida. I think that would have really helped. It wouldn't have been the answer to our offensive problems, because he's not an offensive guy necessarily, but like his at-bat quality, certainly would have helped.
Yeah, but unfortunately, at the time with Yoshida on the market, they were so banked on Hicks and Cabrera being able to platoon left field. They were never even, and it's to their own fault, They never even. I don't even think they looked that serious into the market. Once Benintendi wasn't coming back, it was kind of like they pivoted and were like, all right, we'll worry about left field later.
Yep.
They were so fixed on trying to get Brian Reynolds. That's what it was.
That's part of
They
it.
thought they can get him for less, but the Pirates kept insisting on getting a really good starting pitching prospect, which even with Ken Waldichuk, we didn't have. We were never getting Brian Reynolds unless we had given up a Volpe and Dominguez and Peraza and whatever pitching we had left. It was going to take a lot to get him. And that was the guy they wanted. And that's why I was asking for Conforto. I don't care about the money. I was like, get a left fielder, get a bat in there that can hit, because we can use that right now. Yoshida was a great option. They didn't want to do it. I'm kind of glad they didn't pay Benintendi because he hasn't done anything right now. He really wouldn't be helping. But there were options out there and outside of Brian Reynolds. And they didn't do it. And again, how long have we been talking about this? Since the offseason. Doing this for months. And yet we kept saying this is going to come back to bite us unless Cabrera just absolutely has a tear or Hicks has a bounce back year. None of that happened. And where are we right now? Willie Calhoun, Brian McKinney, Jake Bowers are playing left field for us. And as good as McKinney's been in a handful of games, he's made some great plays. He's hit the ball well. It could go away in 10 seconds because we saw Cordero do this for a week. We saw Calhoun do this for a little bit. Yeah. Bowers was doing it. You're like, wow. And then they're not reliable at bats. I don't know how long. They call him Brian McKinney, Billy McKinney, whatever. We don't know how long it's going to last for. And it doesn't matter because nobody else is hitting around him. So, again, he's not carrying the team, nor should he be. He shouldn't be asked to carry the team. He's a minor league call-up. Right? He shouldn't be asked to carry this team. He's Billy McKinney, for crying out loud. You should be getting the production from your main guys. You're paying Rizzo $20 million a year. You're paying Stanton $20+ million a year. 15 for DJ. Glaber's getting basically 10. Donaldson's getting 25. And yet these guys can't produce more than 4 runs a game without Aaron Judge. Come on now. Like, these are the guys that need to step up.
Well, that's the
Good
problem.
God, I just saw Yoshida's stats. Batting 300 with 7 home runs and 33 RBIs. Jeez, that's tough.
That is what we call not good. They should have had this guy on the Yankee roster.
He'd be second in the Yankees in RBIs.
Yeah. It's Damian's putting up the
at first in batting average.
It really is, with Machado and Harper, Seager. But I also go back to not pulling the trigger on trading for Soto last year. I think that's one of those moves that should have been our focus, not Montas. And I wasn't at the time. I wasn't opposed to Montas, but he was option B after we missed out on Castillo. I think Soto should have been the guy that they went after. All right, we weren't able to get the pitching. Now let's pivot to our A player on our offensive board and not just keep worrying about the pitching, because the pitching has not been the problem in the postseason. It's the hitting. I've been saying that for years. They can't get the big hit. Soto I think would do so well in New York. It's not even funny. Maybe try to put a package together. I know Jason from 161 brought it up yesterday. Joe from the Shift on his channel, and Maz and I last night were exploring, trade possibilities with the Padres if they get to that point where they've just not going to be able to hold on to Soto. Do you dangle a package in front of them and say, all right, look, you're not going to be able to afford him long term. Let's take him off your hands now. Do you think that's an option?
Padres are paying anybody and everybody. I don't think that's not an issue. Money's not an issue for them. They were going to pay Bogarts and Judge this offseason, on top of extending everybody on their roster. They extended Machado. They extended Cronenworth. They're already paying Tatis. They're paying Musgrove, and they just gave Darvish a big extension. They're going to pay Juan Soto. There's no doubt in my mind they're going to pay Juan Soto. However, if the opportunity came around, we're still not going to trade these guys that we didn't want to trade last year. So what's going to change? Why would anyone want Anthony Volpe now that they've seen he can't hit the major league pitching? This is why last year, beginning of the season, when we did our top 5 trade candidates, or for last year, whatever year it was. I said Volpe was my guy at the time because he had just been in single A. I'm not saying I want to trade him, and I never actually wanted to trade him, but the time to trade him was a year ago, 2 years ago, because his value was through the roof. Now, no one's going to want him. No one even wants Peraza right now because he's doing something we already knew he can do, hit AAA pitching. Teams want to see how these kids can produce at the major league level. Peraza didn't hit it very well earlier this year, but last year he was good. But him beating up on AAA pitching right now is not going to make a team go, yeah, we'll give you Juan Soto for Oswald Peraza. He was never going to be the main piece of that trade. It was always going to be Volpe, Peraza, Wells, Dominguez, and a lot of these other, maybe like 2 other players. Because look what San Diego had to give up to get him. It's a pretty big trade package. Mackenzie Gore was involved in that. So it's going to take a lot. I don't know. I don't think they trade him. But yeah, last year, I was with you on that. I said get Juan Soto. Whatever it takes, go get him. I didn't want to give up all those prospects, but Juan Soto is exact. You want any one of those prospects. You want Dominguez to be Juan Soto. You want Volpe to be able to hit like that. And he's only like, 24, 25. So, yeah, he was the bat to get. And people are bringing up Ohtani now. Do you know what it would take to get Shohei Ohtani? They're not getting Shohei Ohtani. Nor would the Angels trade him because they're still in contention. So,
well, no, I wouldn't go after. Look, if they made a move for Ohtani, would I enjoy it? Sure, but I don't think that Ohtani's going to get paid on everything that he's been to this point, right? As we all know how it works. But think 5 years down the road on a long-term deal, you're going to have to pick one or the other. Are you going to want to pay all that money for a DH or a starter? Because there's going to be one or the other as he gets older. He's not going to do this his entire career. I think the Yankees are smart by kind of not aggressively going after him or in trade talks with, about him.
There's no way to getting Ohtani. It makes no sense to me at all.
No.
Makes zero sense to me. I want to give a shout out to Mike Didino, his Twitter handle at Mike_Didino. He's the Yankee reporter for WABC Radio. His tweet, Oswald Peraza's 150-game minor league pace. He's on pace for 53 home runs, 112 RBIs, 37 steals, 311 batting average, and a 980 OPS. He's sitting there, AAA. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's just a joke. Those are joke numbers. I mean, that's a joke number. Right? So good. And the Yankees are ignoring them. It's disgraceful what the Yankees are doing, really. It makes no sense at all. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of how they're treating really good top prospects and treating them like they're garbage. Like it honestly, it needs to stop. It's not acceptable. Right. There's no way that if you've got a guy that's ready to be in the majors, who's the best shortstop in the entire organization, he's on pace for 53 home runs in the minors, and the Yankees are like, no, he's so good.
Right. And who's holding him? Who's holding a spot hostage over him? IKF? I don't care. Everyone's praising him. Oh, I like him now. You guys were screaming at him outside of the stadium last year, literally threatening him, throwing shit at his car. And now, he took it in stride, and he's playing defense in the center field. He's doing everything, but he's not hitting. He shouldn't be on this roster right now over Peraza. Donaldson shouldn't be on this roster right now over Peraza. Calhoun and even McKinney shouldn't be on this roster right now over Peraza. Maybe even Gleyber Torres shouldn't. Exactly. Like, why are we not calling him up? Like, if you DFA'd Kiner Falefa, I'm sure a team would come calling and say, "Hey, we'll give you this single A pitcher or something like that. You can get something." We got something for Luke Voit, for crying out loud. And we got something for Joey Gallo. Clayton Beater's one of our better relief starters in the minors right now. You can get something for IKF. You can get something of value. Nothing spectacular, but something of value. And that can help you get Peraza up here, and you can play him every single day at third or second or short. Because he's shown the ability to play 3 different positions already at the major league roster, at the major league level. And you're not calling him up because you have DJ LeMahieu, who can't hit right now, Gleyber Torres, who doesn't want to play defense apparently, and you have Donaldson, who's swinging and missing unless he's hitting it over the wall every 6 at bats. Come on now. And you're telling me that this is the guy you didn't want to trade? No, we can't trade him. Can't trade him. We got plans for him. Put the plan in motion already because it's taken too goddamn long. Do it.
As we said in the last podcast, if we're gonna lose, I might as well want to lose developing someone. But the guys that we're playing are retrades and journeymen. So you're not learning anything from that. You're not actually developing anything. You're just losing just for the sake of losing. And not to swear, but F that. Like, what's the point? What is the point in losing for the sake of losing just to wait for Aaron Judge to come back? If you're going to lose, you might as well develop your top talent and see if you've got a future with them. That's logic. And there's nobody that Rob mentioned that I would be like, no, we can't have called Peraza up and drop them in playing time. Peraza deserves to be up over. He deserves as much of a chance as Volpe does, and he deserves an everyday place, whether it's at the expense of Josh Donaldson, Gleyber Torres, or DJ LeMahieu. I don't care. Make a decision, and make a decision fast, because there's no point losing for the sake of losing. It's just a complete waste of everyone's time, including Yankee fans who pay good money to go to that product, and there's nothing to watch.
Yep. You're going to start to see it in the attendance. I think there was already one game where it was only like half capacity. So they've seen that just because Yankee Stadium, just like the Garden, is a hot tourist attraction, and everybody in town wants to go. Say they went to Yankee Stadium. You're going to see those numbers drop where it's only going to be tourists.
What game was that though?
A little earlier. I think it was right in the beginning of Judge's first IL stint. It was another time when Judge was not in the lineup.
Well, if it was this past series against the White Sox, I wouldn't blame people for not going. They couldn't breathe outside. So.
Yeah, that was crazy. Let's touch on Trevino's at bat.
Yes.
Was that the worst at bat you've ever seen? We'll start with Taz.
It definitely was. That was as much of a get me the hell out of here at bat that I've seen. That's what that was. You know what? I don't care anymore. How do you not see where the ball is going? You're a catcher. You should be able to read those pitches better than anybody else in the freaking lineup. You can't judge the movement. I mean, like Pete said, it almost hit it right in the tit. And how do you just keep swinging going? Well, maybe the next one will come in a little bit more over the plate. No, he almost gets hit, and he's swinging.
Rob?
Yeah, you watch the at-bat, and then you go back, and if you look at game day, you see just how close those pitches were. And you're thinking, how did he swing? Like, those are video game swings. Like, if you swing at a bad pitch in the game, that's how it looks. And you think, why did I swing at that? And I'm just – the fact that he did it like 3 times, you're like, what the fuck is he doing? I was like, what is he swinging at? I'm like, he could have been on base 6 pitches ago. He could have drew a walk on every single pitch in that at-bat. I'm like, how are you swinging at everything thrown up and in? You're just like, whoa. Like, I don't think anybody is swinging at those pitches, not even children in, like, T-ball. Like, there's no pitches in T-ball, but like Little League, they're not going to throw. If it's at their head, they're going to go, whoa. But he's swinging. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And then, obviously, you have Volpe, another opportunity to come up, and he didn't get it done. But I couldn't believe what I was watching with that at-bat. I was like, how are you not at first base right now? How are you not even leaning into one of these and just taking a hit? Like,
He
why
could have been hit 3 times. He could have been hit 3 times.
It was brutal. It was really brutal.
He would have been hit 3 freaking times, but it looked like he was swatting like a wasp away from him with his bat. That's what it was. It was going straight at him, and he was swatting it away. What are you doing? Like, I was exactly the same as Rob. I was watching that at bat going, what are you doing? Like, it didn't make sense. There was 2 pitches going straight for him, straight for his chest, and it wasn't even the case of him moving aside. He was literally swinging at it. Like, I've never seen that before. And this is with the game on the line. This is the game right here. And that's what was scary is like, here's what it says to me, right? And as a bigger issue, he didn't trust Volpe behind him. That's part of it, right? Volpe was batting behind him, and he's like, shit, I got to get this run in now. However I do it, I got to make contact, right? And he was forcing the at-bat. And when you force an at-bat, only bad things are going to happen. It's like in basketball. If you're forcing a three-point shot, you're never going to hit it, right? If you're a quarterback and you're forcing your throw, it's going to get intercepted, right? Only bad things happen if you force things that aren't there. If your throw or your shot or your at-bat isn't there, don't force it. Trust the guy behind you. But he didn't. He's like, oh, I've just got to do it whatever way I can. If it's going straight for me, I'm going to try and turn on it. And that's what he was doing. And that's what's scary to me is because it shows a lack of faith in who's behind him. He knew that Volpe wasn't making contact. I knew it. You knew it. Rob knew it. So he was like, shit, I got to make contact any way possible. He forced the at-bat. It was a disgrace. He could have been hit 3 times. What he should have done was he should have just taken the at-bat, should have taken the walk, get on first, and trust your guy. Trust him. Because that's how the Yankees win championships. That's how teams win championships. You got to trust your teammates. You got to trust them to come through. You got to trust that it's next man up. If my at-bat isn't on, okay, I'll take the walk. And I'll trust the next guy. But he didn't. And he forced the issue. It was a disgraceful at-bat. He actually should be benched for the next game. He should not be allowed to play after that at-bat because it cost the team the game. It sends a terrible message that you don't trust your teammates. And it looked like he was, it looked like he had a train to catch, or he looked like he had to go to the bathroom, or whatever it was, or his girlfriend was calling him. Whatever it was, he got to get out of there. And that was a disgraceful at-bat. He should have been hit. He was going to get hit 3 times, and he swung at it. I've never seen a worse at-bat. I was watching it. I was perplexed the first time he swatted away a pitch that was going for him. The second time, I was like, all right, what are you doing, man? Like, are you out of your mind? And the third time, I'm like, all right, you're just taking the piss out of me now. Like, honestly, no accountability, no faith, no trust. This is not a team. There's a lot of issues with that at-bat. Terrible.
Well, unfortunately, there's no, well, maybe it might be fortunately, there's no game today. So at least we're spared the misery of watching this offense for another game. But now we get to go play, the Mets for a quick 2-game set. And when you're thinking about how they're playing, this is going to be like Barnum and Bailey back in New York. It's just going to be a circus watching these two teams trying to see who could lose worse. So it's I don't see this offense even. I think this is going to be one of the most comical series in these next 2 games that I think we're going to see all year. At the off day, it ain't going to help anybody. Stanton got the 2 days off. Actually, I think it's 3 straight days. No, 2 days off because he didn't play yesterday. He did play in the middle game, but he's not tearing the cover off the ball. So what was the rush to put him? It's not like he was on a hot streak and you sat him. He's not even on a streak. He's just getting back. We don't even know, what's going to happen. But I wouldn't put too much faith in with Stanton. I don't think it would have made that much of a difference yesterday. I really don't.
He pinch hit later in the game, grounded out, I think. And we're going against Scherzer and Verlander, and who have both been struggling. But you can expect probably 14 innings, 15 combined from them, maybe 100 strikeouts. I don't know.
100 strikeouts. What is the catcher just deliberately leaving all these strikes behind him, the backstop, and they're getting on base? 100 strikeouts. Do you know what's amazing though? We've trashed this team for an hour, but we're 38-29. This team is a terrible team. They've played awful all season long, bar like a week, right? And they're still right there, 38-29. They're only 9.5 games out. It's amazing to me because we've played like shit. We've played horrible baseball for most of the season. Unbearable, unwatchable, terrible baseball. but we're right there, which says to me that if we put together a half decent team, we would be absolutely fine. But we still can be. We just need Aaron Judge back sooner rather than later. But I can't say enough about the pitching. I really can't. These guys get no help. These guys get no run support. The bullpen's locked down, and the starting rotation's been good. It's amazing. Like they're basically got no margin for error, and they're keeping the Yankees in every single game. So, listen, we just need a couple more better at bats, and we win most of these games, right? So, I mean, it's not all doom and gloom, right? There's the silver lining in this really dark cloud, but it doesn't make it any easier to watch. This is a horrible baseball team to watch right now, but the pitching is just fantastic. So I got to give a shout out to the pitching staff.
Yeah, and you think this is without Rodon. This is without Sevy for a good chunk, who's been struggling lately. This is without Cortez, who's been bad past the fourth inning. This is without Tommy Kahnle for the first 2 months, without Lou Trevino, without Scott Efros. I mean, we're without Ian Hamilton. We're losing Nick Ramirez and Jimmy Cordero, and they're both stepping up. And Randy Vasquez has been electric in 2 starts. He's looked really good, and I don't think he's close to ready yet, but clearly he's closer than I thought. The pitching deserves a whole lot of credit. There's nothing that I can criticize about this pitching staff, even with a guy like Albert Abreu on the roster who flat out stinks. Everything else has been fine. And you think about all those players that I just named that are hurt. You're giving up 2-3 runs a game. That should be enough to win, even without Aaron Judge. And you think about why the Yankees are in a playoff spot right now, it's because of Aaron Judge. Because from May 9th, or when we got Bader back and then Judge, from the month of May, the Yankees looked great. They looked great. They were winning games. They had to win. Their pitching was good. The offense was scoring enough. The Judge was a madman. And then the second he gets hurt, the very next night, they scraped 2 runs across on a ground out, like on ground outs. And you're like, this is the norm without him in the lineup. And it's been the exact same thing ever since. So, yeah, we can praise the pitching. And, yeah, we're still in a playoff spot. And the season's not over by any means, but you're seeing what it's going to be like if Judge is out for a prolonged period of time. If this thing takes a month, the season could be on the line here in June.
Oh, yeah.
And we said that going into May. May had to be a big month because they had to keep winning because they were 500 or right around 500 going into the month. And the season could have been tough to come back from a bad month of May. Now they have to survive without Aaron Judge for maybe a month, maybe more, maybe less. But they have to find a way. And it's going to start with your big names. Rizzo, Stanton, Donaldson, LeMahieu, Torres. That's 4 players I just named right there. 5. That should be enough to step up. Harrison Bader makes it 6. That's got to be enough to put up an offense that's capable of 5 runs a game without Aaron Judge. And you should be able to win a lot more games this month. But it starts with them. If they don't hit, we don't got a shot to win games. Even the offense
he needs
could
to be back by the first week of July, in my opinion. If he's not back by the first week of July, I think the season's over. Because we know what his general manager's like. The decisions he's made to this point, even with Aaron Judge's absence, it doesn't fill me with any faith that he wants to put together any kind of team around him. So we have to get him back sooner rather than later, or there's no way this is sustainable.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. It's going to come down to, this team right now is still, even though that they have a winning record, they're in the mix. It's one of those, they're teetering on the fence right now. And on one side you have, the postseason, and then the other side of the fence is just complete, embarrassment. And they're leaning more towards the embarrassment side of the fence right now. And without the weight of Judge on their shoulders, that seesaw is not going to swing back the other way. So it's all going to come down to having the player, because when it's so obvious when Judge is in this lineup how everybody else carries himself a little differently. That's the impact that he has. That's part of his value. Decent teams, decent left fielders. This lineup is constructed terribly. Hey, what's going on, TC? And this lineup, is just you cannot put all your weight on journeymen, and replacements. This is not the next man up series where we just found lightning in a bottle that we were able to get guys. Don't forget, we were getting guys back a little quicker that year. So, we were able to cycle back in a lot of our regular players to keep the momentum going. This year, every time we get somebody back, it's all right. They're actually getting less play time than the replacements. That's not how you sustain your offense. That's not how you put up runs. You're going to lose a lot more games than you win when you play like that.
Yeah. And just having Judge in the lineup makes everybody else better because the pitcher's afraid of him. They're afraid of him. They don't want to pitch to him. But sometimes they have to, and that's when you get beat. But we saw it last year when everyone else was struggling. They said, well, we're not going to pitch to you. In the postseason, they gave him nothing to hit, so it's no shocker that he struggled in the playoffs. They said, we're not afraid of anybody else in this lineup, but we are not going to let 99 beat us. And now teams that are facing the Yankees don't even have to worry about him because he's not playing. So they can just attack, and say, if you beat us, you got us. I love Anthony Rizzo. Nobody's afraid of him. They're not going to say, we have to game plan to beat Anthony Rizzo. I love Giancarlo Stanton, but there are many ways to get him out. Unless he's red hot, then you pitch around him. But right now, you can go right after him because he's not hitting yet. And I know he just came back. Nobody is afraid of Glaber. Nobody's afraid of DJ. And damn well ain't nobody afraid in Major League Baseball, in AAA, AA, Single A. Nobody is afraid of Josh Donaldson. So you have to get him back. You have to get Aaron Judge back.
Rob, I would interject. I would say that it's not the case that they don't fear them. I just don't think that they fear everyone else around them. So what's the worst that can happen? They hit a solo home run. It's one run. You know what I mean? It's not like there's a grand slam. No one else is getting on base. So pitch to Stanton. Pitch to Rizzo. What's the worst that's going to happen? Challenge them. Because they don't have and also they'll give them difficult pitches to hit because there's no protection for either of them in the lineup. So that's a big thing too, man. That's what I'm talking about. It's like the roster construction is so bad that you have a Stanton, that you have a Rizzo, but the offense is so bad because there's not a functioning offense around them. So they're going to be like, well, we're going to give you challenging pitches to hit. If you can beat me, great. But the worst thing, well, fine, but the worst thing you can do is hit a solo home run because no one else gets on base. So that's what I think it is, less rather than like a lack of respect for these guys. Because Stanton's a monster. I think everyone's terrified of Stanton. And Rizzo's one of the best first basemen in baseball. It's just the case that everyone else around them sucks.
The protection is missing. That's a great point. It's got to improve. And it's going to come down to maybe like the last time when Bader came back, where we got a little spark, because he's got the energy to kind of rally the team, next to Judge. So we'll see what happens. I think Bader is due back this week. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm hoping that there's going to be some type of resurgence with Bader back in the lineup that gives them a little bit of a spark.
Facts. Impeach. Facts. They should stop being arresting players so much. It doesn't do any good. They still constantly get hurt no matter what. Exactly. You might as well play them every day. It makes zero difference. And he's right. I actually think it's actually hurt Stanton that since he's come back that he's been rested every other day. I don't think it actually helps anything because he started off hot. His at-bat qualities were great when he first came back. And now since he's been rested every other day, he looks like SHIT. So I think that kind of tells its own story. Stop resting these guys. Trust them.
And Stanton has said multiple times he feels he's at his best when he's playing the field. He feels that not being on the field and not staying loose is why he's getting hurt so much.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to put him in the outfield. Meanwhile, the guy's telling you what will work to keep him healthy. It's ridiculous. He has had not one injury that's been caused by being on the field. Everything has been running. Why? Because he's been sitting for too long. So it's not like this lineup is being turned over so quick where he's getting an at-bat every other inning. he's sitting for 3 innings sometimes before he gets back up off the bench. That's the problem. And nobody wants to see that. Fans, the office, the manager, nobody. Put him in the field. Put him in right field when you're in the stadium, while Judge is out. It can't get any worse. And when he makes those statements that's what gives him the most productivity, and it just falls on deaf ears because the computer says that can't happen.
Yeah, it's bad. He needs to be out there because you mentioned it last week. If you play him in right field while Judge is hurt almost every day, it's going to allow a player like Peraza to get playing time because then that DH spot opens up. So you can DH Torres or DH LeMahieu or DH Donaldson, and you can get Peraza in there. Why are we not doing this? Why? That's my big question. It's like, why? Why can't we do it? What do you have to lose right now? And Bader comes back, send down Cabrera. And then guess what? IKF can go too. He can go. Donaldson can go. Calhoun can go. I mean, I don't know. McKinney, Calhoun, Bowers, they're all outfielders. Two of them are not very good defensively. I think Bowers has been better, but I don't know if they want to get rid of Calhoun. He's been batting leadoff for some reason. But please just get Peraza up here. There are multiple ways to make it happen. Do it. Just
Willie
please
Calhoun,
do it.
off hitter. That's another mind-boggling analytics decision. It makes zero sense. What analytic tells you that you want to see Willie Calhoun leading off for the New York Yankees? It's this season, man. It's a tough year to swallow. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it's like Booger Bear made the comment earlier. The only contact the bats need to make right now is to the computers. Because nothing is making any sense. The computers are wrong. Right? I don't know what algorithms or what they're putting in there that would make you put lineups like that out. Why you would have guys that are not producing always get the play, guys that are screaming to be called up, just being told wait your turn, and like Donald said, they end up getting yanktified. And Stanton is stuck on the bench to rust before he hits it at bat. So it's just there's so many things that need to be fixed. And we've been saying it on the show for 4 years, and nothing has freaking changed. I think the biggest mistake that the Yankees made was running it back with Cashman and Boone. They had the opportunity to hit reset on the GM, and they passed it up because we all know that Brian Steinbrenner Cashman will now always have this job. And until that changes, nothing else will. But so we're going to leave that at that. We will be back on Wednesday when we'll be talking about these series with the Mets because it's definitely, I think this is going to just be a circus. And so get your popcorn and enjoy the show because there's no Judge. There's also no Alonso for the Mets. So don't forget because he's on the IL. So you got a lot of the star power is on the offensive side will not be in the headlines. It will be a pitching matchup for these two games. But I want to thank everybody in the comments for everything. Just remember, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this video out. And as always, wear your pinstripe pride and play hard.